Ladies and gents, boys and girls, hello and a very warm welcome from the BIOROWER workshop. This video is about how to use the signal mode on the BIOROWER to get the most out of the BIOROWER and the BIOROWER app. So in the menu, I go to row, tap to start. Of course, both sensors have to be turned on and paired. Signal mode is the one in the most right position. What do you see? On the left, you see the Newton scale. So this shows you how many newtons you're pulling. And on the x-axis is a timeline. So the bottom curves that I'm creating, not the top curves, the bottom curves are force curves. How does this work? You see the wire coming out here and there. Here's a strain gauge mounted to a steel axle. So there's a sensor mounted axle on both sides. And whenever I pull, this is when this thick axle actually bends a bit. And that tiny bit of bend is measured and the raw data is transmitted to your tablet. So if I pull with the left oar, you see a green force curve. So right now I'm pulling 150 newtons. If I pull with the right hand, you see a red force curve. That's again about 150 newtons. Now, if I pull with both hands, it should be somewhat symmetrical. But now comes the interesting part. So I personally, as a coach, I'm looking for a couple of things. The first thing is, how symmetrical is the force curve? Don't expect anybody to be 100% symmetrical. Most people think when their curves look like this, the right hand is stronger, which is partly true. Look at the first part of the curve. How does it start? What does it look like? See, if somebody starts like this, it's not a problem of being stronger on one side. The problem is that my right hand started earlier than the left hand. This has to do with how the BIOROWER is built. If I pull on the right hand and then start with the left, you will feel that, the left doesn't have the same amount of resistance. Vice versa, if I start early on the left and I pull with the right pretty much goes empty. Why? Because I have two independent oars working on one resistance unit. So if I take away resistance, it's very difficult for the other side to catch up. Now most actually experienced single scullers like to row this way. They like to start with the right and then overpull with the left at the finish. The reason why we're doing this is because most boats are set up so that the right hand is a tiny bit closer to the body than the left, and we try to compensate this at the finish. There is nothing wrong with that. What is wrong, however, is when you start at different points of time. So that would make your boat go in little swivel motion. What we want is, yes, you can have different positions of your hands, but start at the same point of time. A bit of asynchronicity is normal, but not this. So typical thing you will see when you coach somebody on the BIOROWER who sits on the BIOROWER for the first time, they will say, I don't feel the same amount of resistance on both sides. The machine is broken. And then you have to tell them, no, it's your technique that's broken. And some people are stubborn. They think, no, I always roll like this. That's true. But nothing provides you that feedback that a BIOROWER provides you. The single scull just goes in swivel motion and doesn't tell you, hey, you're inefficient. How do you break that habit? Well, something I like to do is get people out of their muscle memory comfort zone. So you start this way, you're letting them row cross hands. Cross hands usually leads to better results because it's a new motion. And if you're not used to that kind of motion, you will automatically sense better, when do I pick up force horizontally? That's the first thing I like to do. The second thing is, you have to make people understand that this is not a linear erg. This is like the boat. And in the boat, imagine you had a sheet of paper here. And imagine there were vertically a pin mounted to both oar handles. And you were doing a nice and decent pull. What would these lines look like? And you would come to the conclusion it's a semicircle. That's important to understand. So essentially, we don't want to pull straight back like in a linear erg. We want to go in, across, and out. And the better you do this, so the more you're able to apply force in a 90-degree angle to the oar handle with extended arms, the more effective you're going to be. I personally, as a coach, I like to focus on having a plateau-like force curve into the finish with a late peak in low steady state, so that in high steady state, this will be lift. You see another set of curves. That is the angle curve. Angle curve means nothing but the handle position. Look at the top curves. On the right, the y-axis on the right indicates the position of your oar handles. Right now we are at 0. 0 is the middle position, or the initial position as it is currently called in the app. If I go forward with the right oar, you see that my red handle position curve drops. I'm now at minus 30 degrees. I'm going towards the catch. I'm going forward. I'm now at minus 60 degrees. 60 degrees after 0. I'm now going to roughly 80-some degrees. Now 80 degrees is a pretty ineffective catch angle. The blade is more pointing out than forward. Okay. And now I'm going to the finish. I'm going past 0 all the way into the finish. I'm now at roughly 40, 43, 45 degrees. So the oar handle position tells me where my oars are at any given point of time. Now watch me take a couple of strokes and monitor each time my oars cross 0, so the middle. Monitor the curves. Okay, and now let's put these two curves together and try to make sense of that. And that's the most important thing about this video. When my force curves drop, I want to make sure that my force curves drop past the middle position. Why? Because this is where my blades are in the best possible angle to accelerate the boat. I will have done most of the acceleration probably here already, 30 degree and around 0. This is where I could use most of my weight the most effective way. Now a lot of people have force curves that look like this. Everything here and a slow build down right before they even cross 0. So a lot of people go for an early peak. If everybody's going for an early peak, that's more effective than people trying to be effective individually but not rowing together. But if you can improve people's technique individually and then unify that, what I recommend is to have a bit of a plateau left past 0. So past the point where my oar handle position curves go through 0. All right. With this, thank you very much for watching. If you want to learn more, go to BIOROWER.com. Send us an email to info@BIOROWER.com. Stay tuned for the next explanation video.